How do I know when we go?
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our live stream where we're talking with our STEM team. And I'm so glad that you're here on this Friday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. A couple of little announcements we want to go through today. Our session is being recorded, so if you miss anything or you want to go back and you want to see it again, it will be recorded and it will actually be down on our YouTube channel. So it's going to be there. So if you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, just look down there and click on the subscribe button. We've got over 1,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. And we're looking forward to doing more of that. If you want to ask questions, feel free to use the chat window over in the chat box. We have our moderators from the EdTech team and other departments that are in that chat and can actually answer questions, and we'll be glad to answer questions throughout our presentation today. I'm so lucky to be with two of my greatest colleagues, and I'm looking forward to presenting with them today. And I just wanted to share a little bit with you. My name is John Long. I'm with the Department of Educational Technology, and there is my contact information and my Twitter handle. Feel free to reach out and ask questions. And we have two other great people with us.
Hi, my name is Eva Swiner. I work in the Department of Curriculum and part of the STEM team. And my contact information was there on the screen as well. And just really looking forward to hearing from everyone here today.
My name is Julia Mate. I am also working curriculum and I'm part of the K-12 STEM team. And I'm really excited to share some STEM innovation ideas with you today. So I'm going to start off with what is STEM. And STEM education is an integrated, interdisciplinary approach to learning that provides hands-on and relevant learning experiences for all students. It engages students and equips them with the 4 C's: critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity, as well as problem solving, which establishes connections between schools, our community, the workforce, and basically our global economy. We are living, as we all know, in an ever-changing, increasingly complex world, and we need our community to be able to bring knowledge and skills to solve problems, make sense of information, and know how to gather and evaluate evidence to make decisions. We must empower our students with skills that will enable them to solve tomorrow's challenges, regardless of what field they're working in. And I think I just wanted to touch on the why of STEM. And what you're seeing on the presentation is the World Economic Forum and the Future Jobs Report. And the skills that are in demand, and because of the way we are working and living is changing so much, if you look at some of those skills, it's analytical thinking, active learning, innovation, creativity, collaboration. So these skills are now in demand in the workforce, and in order for us to prepare our students to be able to do this, we need to make sure that we're equipping them with those skills. Kindly note on that skill set for 2018 or 22, it doesn't say memorizing anything. So we really need our students to be thinking and solving problems and using their content to be able to do that. We need to enable them to solve problems for tomorrow and kind of problems that we're in right now. And so I'm really excited to share this time with Eva, who's going to share some digital tools that can help us provide opportunities for students to utilize these skills.
Hey everyone. So just as Julia mentioned, like one of the things that's so important to us here in STEM is really allowing students to see the connections between not only what they're learning in school, but also future career options, skills that are going to take them through the workplace and beyond. So one of the ways that we like to engage our students is really talking about leveraging those digital tools to engage students in new and different ways. So just some of the tools that we're going to talk about here today are Pear Deck, Padlet, Airpano, and ways that we can connect with our community members here both locally and abroad. So one of the tools that I'm going to take you through first is Pear Deck. So Pear Deck actually is an extension of Google Slides. So the way that you access Pear Deck is you go over to your little waffle in your right-hand corner where your profile is in Chrome, and you scroll down to where it says More from the G Suite Marketplace. So as soon as you click on that, one of the available options, if it's not available for you, you just type it right there in the search box, is you see Pear Deck. So it's a quick little add-on. It's a cute little symbol right there that allows you to kind of access some really amazing digital tools that are available to you and get students to engage in new and different ways. So what it does is it actually works with existing Google Slides. So in this specific scenario, one of the things that happens is that you can take any presentation that you've got available to you. Doesn't matter what it is. The one that I'm going to walk you through is actually one of the lessons or units that we have in our STEM Blender page. It's created specifically for 6th grade, but really leverages some of the content and understanding for high school, middle school, 6th grade, of course, but also bio, because what it does is it works with the integration of social studies, the integration of science, life sciences, specifically the human body. It also talks a little bit about, in world history and geography, some concepts about early civilizations, specifically India. So what we're going to talk about a little bit in this lesson, in this example that I'm showing you, is we are presented with a problem. We have a patient named Alana, and Alana has very specific illnesses. And so what the student's job is going to research these specific illnesses that she has and figuring out which body systems work together to both cause these problems, and then how you as a student, as a patient practitioner, are going to create a treatment plan for her. So you got to do a little bit of research, you got to engage in some discussion, you're going to take a virtual field trip and just engage in different ways. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of key parts of this unit and show you how you can turn those into usable resources that get students to interact right now in this digital environment. Right now, we're presented with a unique opportunity to be able to do distance learning, but in just unique ways and leveraging some of those tools. So I'm going to show you a couple here right now. One of the things that's part of this unit is having the students conduct research. So one of the tools that I had in this unit is students being able to use Padlet. If you've never used Padlet, it was a program completely free, designed by teachers, so definitely has that teacher mindset and things that teachers think about that's very unique among product creators. So in this one, what they're doing is Alana has certain illnesses. She has diabetes, high blood pressure, emotional stress. It's all leading to this overall feeling that she's got as she comes to you as a patient. So the first thing that you got to do is engage in research. You got to know what this illness is, what body systems are interacting with it, how these systems are working together to cause it, and then devising a treatment plan for Alana. So in this one, what students can do in Padlet is they can go actually, this Padlet, this example one that's shown right there on the top left, is just a template that's created where the students actually type in. They can upload pictures, they can upload videos of themselves or videos that are on YouTube, they can add PDFs, all these different documents that they can create into like a research portfolio that other students in the class can see. Me as a teacher, if I decide that I want the students to communicate and collaborate in that space, I can turn the chat function on so that students can actually see each other's work, ask questions, get feedback. Me as a teacher, if I want to, I can turn on the grading feature and use it as a form of assessment. And there's just some really cool tools. If you haven't seen Padlet before, definitely check it out because there is a lot of ways to get students to engage, especially in distance learning like we are right now. Second component of this is also a tool called Nepris, also free. But what Nepris is a way for students to learn a little bit more about careers. So Nepris is a web-based platform that engages professionals around certain topics. So when you go there, there are a whole library of already pre-recorded videos, like the one that you see there. This particular person is an ICU nurse. and had a conversation about how she does her job and what things she has to think about as an ICU nurse when she goes to diagnose and treat patients. So you can hear from industry professionals. NEPRIS is one of many resources that the STEM team has developed and kind of collaborated with local partners. So for example, Lion Country Safari has some amazing interviews available that are standards-based content. Scientists in Every Florida School is another one based out of UF. There's Loggerhead Marine Life Center, there's NASA, all of these just digital interview options to engage students in connecting careers to the content that they're learning. The third bit that I want to talk you through in this particular lesson is Airpano. Airpano provides students the ability to take a virtual field trip. So in this particular unit, one of the early civilizations they're learning about is India. And so they're learning about the kind of like the birthplace of modern medicine, homeopathic medicine, stress relief, meditation. So all of this could potentially be incorporated into that lesson plan or that treatment plan for Alana. So this allows you in this digital world to kind of take a sneak peek into a location far, far away and get students to engage in avenues and venues that they maybe not have available to them. Airpano is one of another couple different resources I'm going to share with you later on, but Google Expeditions, Discovery Education, NatureWorks, the Smithsonian, the Met, all have virtual field trip options for you to kind of explore the world around you, engage students in art and culture in new and interesting ways. So these are all some great experiences that are built into the lesson themselves, but me as a teacher in this digital environment, I want to take that one step further. So I want students to collaborate and I want them to gather information and resources. I want them to work together, and I want to gather as a teacher's informative assessment tool. So let's go back to that Pear Deck and see how this can make transform our teaching. So once you've got that extension downloaded and added, you're going to see just at the very top there, you're going to see a little add-on feature with that drop-down menu that says Pear Deck. So once you click that Pear Deck and open that up, this is what you see. It's basically a table on the right that opens up that allows you to embed content straight into your existing Google Slides presentation. So whatever you've already got made, you're just leveraging that information and adding some really cool interactive tools to that the students get to engage in at their own pace. So for example, when you open up that menu on the right there, you're going to see a template library. That template library has all sorts of content that's available for kids K to 12. So there's lesson builders and it has specific focused slides that you can add in for beginning of the lesson engagement, during the lesson, stopping and spot checking where they are with formative assessment, end of lesson closures and wrap-ups. There's SEL work in there. There's critical thinking tasks. There's content-specific slides. So if you're talking about math, science, social studies, all of that content is already preloaded. You can also create your own. You can ask students questions. So you can ask a multiple choice, drag and drop. You can have them draw their responses, all sorts of different content that's already created that you can embed into your existing Google slide deck. So like I said, I'm going to take this presentation that I already have for Alana and What's Up Doc, and I'm going to add in some interactive pieces to it. So for this particular unit or for this particular slide deck, I'm going to add in a couple things. The first thing I want to start out with is for me as a teacher, I want to know what they already know. I want to know what they're wondering. So I'm going to add in a text slide that asks students what they're wondering about today's topic and kind of prejudge what they already know. So I'm going to gather some formative assessment data there. I also want to add in a quick little activity that gets them to do a matching game to determine if they understand the role of each of the body systems. So they're just going to do a matching activity. And that third one I want to add in at the very, very end is having them reflect on the unit. What did they learn? How did they interact with their peers? What have they learned as themselves as learners? So all of these three components are things that I'm going to add into my slide deck to just accentuate what's already there and take that learning one step further in a collaborative environment. So what you do when you do this is basically you select the slides that you want. These are the ones that I wanted. And then you just drag and drop them into the deck. So they show on your left-hand slide screen. You're going to notice they have a cute little Pear Deck function at the very bottom that lets you know that that's an interactive slide. And then once you're ready, all you have to do is launch the lesson. You could do that by clicking Start Lesson. So once you click Start Lesson, you're going to be given an option to either engage the students in a student-paced activity, which is what you're going to want to do right now in our digital environment, or you can do a teacher-based when you're back in the classroom and you can actually present to the class and they keep going along with you. So as you turn your slide, they see it too. But for here now in distance learning, we kind of need them to go at their own pace, right? So we're going to choose that student-paced activity option. So as soon as you click that little box, you're going to see another box pop up that says, all the information the students are going to need to be able to engage in your Pear Deck. So you're going to see it gives them the option to, you can either copy the link and give it to them in your Google Classroom, or you can just embed it right there. It actually syncs with Google Classroom and connects to them that way when they log in. The most important thing that you got to know about doing this, though, is that you need to give them a code. That code is located right there on the very bottom of the screen, and that gives them, when they log in, that code gives them access to your presentation. So this particular presentation is open right now. If you want to log in, you want to join in and type in some stuff, you're more than welcome to. That's the code for this Alana slide deck that I just showed you today. So that is RTRVE. What you're going to do is in your search browser, you can go to joinpd.com. You're going to type in that little code, and then you can join along too. So I'm going to show you just a couple quick slides of what the teacher sees when they're in student pace mode, and then what the student sees. So you can see what that interaction might look like and how it's different from you and then from your students. So remember in the very beginning, I said I was going to do that pre-assessment topic and figure out what they're wondering. The teacher view is right there on the bottom. The student view is right there on the top. So the student has the ability, and this is my kid that I suckered into doing this lesson for me. He typed in what he was wondering about today's this particular topic with Alana, and then as a teacher, what I see is I see whatever he typed and his name. So I have that trackable data that I'm looking for as a teacher to be able to gather that formative assessment information. So as every student adds in a new topic or adds in a new response, it's going to pop up as a new pop-up window just like that, a little chat box with what they said and their name, so you always know. That next thing was that matching activity. So the student view is up in the top. Students have the ability to choose their pen type. They can type with text. They can change their color. All of these are different features that they can interact with that text. And then as a teacher, what I see is I can see exactly what they drew when they were doing their little matching activity. So I can check really quickly whether or not they understood and made that connection between the system and its function, and if they were in the right track as we were walking through this unit talking about body systems and interactions. That third piece that I added in was that reflection. So I wanted to know when they were done with their lesson, what did they learn? Not only about the content, but also about themselves as learners. So they had the ability to just type in their little responses. They can change the color just like you see there. And every student gets their own file so that they see their own answers, but if you as a teacher want them to see each other's and collaborate on each other's, they can do that too. So all of those are just different settings to allow students to interact. So now what you're going to do, if you as a teacher, obviously you can't stay in this lesson forever. You have to leave. You want to maybe leave this open for a couple of days for students to work on at their own pace as they're working through the lesson. So what you're going to do as a teacher is you're going to click that end button right there on the right-hand side, and you are going to say, I'm going to leave, but I am going to allow my students to keep working. So that means your window doesn't have to stay open. You can go ahead and keep going on to do other things in your Google Classroom, assign tasks, go to the next class period, go to the next activity that you want to do, but those students still have the ability to access that information for as long as you want. As soon as you want to turn it off, you just go back to the dashboard, turn it off, and then they've lost access to it, and then you can grade whatever you need to grade in the platform. So you're going to leave and allow students to keep working. So now I know you're wondering, okay, I've turned it off, but how do I access all that student information? So what you're going to do is you're going to go to https app.peardeck.com. That is the platform where all of your information is located. I've got myself logged in there, and then what you'll notice is right there at the very top, it says sessions. Those are any of the sessions that you have started and named. So for this one, I went ahead and created a session so that you guys could access this at your own time. And then when I'm ready, I will go back and revisit and pull all of that data, see all of those student responses, and it's all right there at my fingertips for me to be able to see how the students have collaborated, how they communicated their understanding, and how they made connections in their unit and learning process over the course of this topic. And then as soon as I'm done, I hit end, I shut off that permission, and then you're all set to go and you can gather all the data that you need. So I know I went really quickly through Pear Deck and I talked about a lot of different things. So what I have done is created a quick little PDF that kind of just guides you through all the things that we talked about. So just as a reminder for you, all the things that are available to you for allowing students to connect with their community, with interviews, allowing students to join virtual field trips as different options to explore the world, and how you can get engage students in collaboration digitally. So that PDF will be loaded for you in the resources area right on the EdTech website, so that you can access whenever you want. I think next up is John, and he'll talk to you some more.
So, Julia and Evie have given you a lot to think about. I'm just going to give you some ideas on how you can incorporate this in your lessons. We've got some elementary stuff, but we also have some ideas on how we can convert these to secondary ideas. So I've got a few ideas on how you can do this from an asynchronous as well as a synchronous model and stuff like that. So I'm going to start off with Eric Carle's The Tiny Seed. And a lot of people have used that book. It's a great book. I've got a link there to a YouTube video of it. One of the things that they're going to do is they're going to use this book to kind of learn a little bit about coding. And one of that term is an algorithm. And if you don't know what an algorithm is, it's really easy. An algorithm is a process. So in this case, planting a seed is a process, or how is the process of a tiny seed? So they can actually click on that, and there's a whole activity lesson plan that you can use for planting a seed. But you can also come up with other ideas of how to write processes at home, like making a PB&J sandwich, or how to play a video game, or how to play hopscotch. And then I like to use technology, so one of the pieces I like to do is like let them create a video, whether it's an Adobe Spark, it's an Apple Clips, it's a Flipgrid. We did an awesome webinar on Flipgrid just a week ago, and that's a great tool to do. So they can actually just share how those algorithms are doing, and they're learning those coding terminology. Another idea is fairy tales. I love fairy tales. This is a big time of year for fairy tales. And a lot of them know the story of Rapunzel. And there's a link there to the real story of Rapunzel. And if you read the real story, the kids can read the story. The teacher could read to the story. But they could also talk about the difference between the real story and Rapunzel, as well as the Rapunzel in the movie Tangled. And so I have a quick little Venn diagram that I created in Google Slides over here. And so like I can create these little text boxes, and I could have the kids come in and create stuff that happened in the original Rapunzel, or the ones that had it in the Tangled, and which ones had in common, so they can actually discuss which versions of Rapunzel they want to learn about. One thing I would like to share with you is that Rapunzel actually has a different version in different cultures. And so they could actually learn about the different cultures of Rapunzel. So it's not just a fairy tale that certain cultures have, it's in all different cultures. So you can actually do that. And then the STEM activity, which is including the science, the technology, engineering, mathematics, and I like to throw in the art piece as well, is let them design a tower. So let them go and build a tower, because today, kids are being stuck in front of a computer screen whenever they can get it. But let them go and find objects to build a tower. Make sure they check with their parents before they do it, so they actually know how to actually do that. So that's just another lesson. And then I'm going to take this one more step forward, and let's talk about Cinderella, okay? There's a lot going on with Cinderella between the version that's been passed down from generation to generation to the Disney movie Cinderella. So let them use that Venn diagram that you created and let them figure out. But then the other thing is this. We've got a great activity for STEM on creating a drawbridge. And so if I was a teacher and I did this project with my students, I would not show them my drawbridge first. The idea is that they do their own drawbridge first, share how their drawbridge work. What did they use? What materials did they use? They've got the cereal box. They've got maybe some string. Well, in my drawbridge, I actually use some things like a magnet or a paper clip, so that we can talk about push and pull, which is reinforcing that subject area in science. The engineering pieces, how did they do the drawbridge to make it go quickly? Have them do that. I put a web link into this document that we'll share with you on the website that talks about how to go in there and actually do those things. And then let them create a video on Flipgrid or Adobe Spark. I created a video over here to the side that showed how I built my drawbridge, and you can use that as a reference point if you like. It's going to be on the website with directions as well, and you can actually figure out how to build your drawbridge. I would encourage you to do it first so you know what your students have to go through to learn the process. So you can kind of figure out some of the links and then let them share. This is another lesson. This book is Sending Assignment to the Moon, and you may not have access to it. So I also put that they could actually do a research project out of this with a NASA website. And this is a great NASA website that talks about moon phases. And that's actually going to be a 4th grade standard, but it's actually measured in 5th grade. And then 8th graders are doing it too. So they can actually use that book, Sending Assignment, which is a wonderful book, or they can use the NASA article and talk about what are the phases of the moon. Let them go through like a whiteboard app. And a whiteboard app could be Jamboard, Google's Jamboard, or you could do it in SLSO, which is Smart Learning Suite Online, or you could use something free, which is free now, called Explain Everything, which I love as a great resource. So they can actually learn that depending on where the moon is and the way it revolves around Earth and how the sun fits, that is how the phases of the moon. There's an activity here that I put in on how to build a telescope. It adds a few pieces, a few lenses that can start in a few next week because there's a new moon starting on April 22nd. I looked it up just to be sure. And there's a National Geographic's link there where they can build their own telescope. The other thing I want to share with you is that they're on the NASA site. They have the project that talks about using Oreos to illustrate the phases of the moon. Well, what am I talking about? Oreo phases of the moon. Well, they're going to have to break up different pieces of the Oreo to show the new moon, how the crescent moon, how it's between waxing and waning, and waxing means growing, waning means going away, how those different terms with the different phases of the moon. And they can actually use their video skills to do the moon phases or the telescope. I think it's important for kids to create videos because I think it's a way for them to verbalize the process besides just writing it down. They can actually go through and verbalize the process, and they can talk about, hey, why didn't this work this right way? Why did it work this way? Some ways of actually thinking about the engineering process. The engineering process is just like the writing process. We have to go through edits, and we have to evolve that process. And this is a great way of doing that and talking about it. And it's fun. It gives them some hands-on activities besides just staring at the screen and answering questions. One other activity was focusing on the water cycle, which is done in 2nd grade. It's also done in 5th grade. And it's also done in 8th grade and 6th grade, actually. And then it's measured in 8th grade. And here's a great book called Sending Assignment Full Steam Ahead. It's actually available on Mac and Via. So you can go to Mac and Via on your portal and actually access the ebook of this book. And it actually talks about the water cycle. And the concept here is that they can use the Smartboard app to outline the different, I say phases of the moon, that's actually wrong, but actually the water cycle. But here is another way to get coding in. And this is a great lesson. It's called Getting Loopy. And they can find a song and there's a rhythmic pattern, and they can learn how to alter it and do different types of repeats, because the water cycle is a loop. Just like the life cycle of a butterfly or the life cycle of a plant, it's a loop because it's a process that keeps looping. And they can turn that technology into the coding aspect and doing it. They could create their own patterns and let their brothers and sisters or their friends help out. And they can actually do some different kinds of activities based on that. And the engineering challenge of this is kind of like what some of them already do in their classrooms, like the water cycle in a baggie. but it's a water cycle in a jar, which is like putting that different types of elements in there. And there's a how-to by the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation. And they can actually take that water cycle in a jar and see how the process of the collection, the evaporation, the precipitation, because you're sealing it off and you put it near a sun-filled room and actually watching it. And it's good for them to document too. You could do that in Flipgrid or Adobe Spark or Apple Classrooms. Or if they don't have access to some of those tools, they can actually just write a description in Google Classroom or just draw it. I think drawing is a great way of actually showing what the kids are learning. One final thing is bird, frogs, and bears, oh my, about animal classifications. That's actually being taught in 3rd grade right now. We had a great webinar on Monday, I believe it was this week, where Holly Ruffner from Library Media Services showed different resources on how to do research, like PebbleGo, PebbleGo Next, which is free for right now, Kids Infobooks, or Worldbook. And they could use it to research and discover different parts about animals. How to identify 5 to 10 facts. Learn them how to take notes. This is a great time for them to learn some of these skills. What are the characteristics of each classification? You've got 3 pictures right there. That's only half of it at least. And what kind of habitat do they need? Let students describe or illustrate the animal's habitat, like a frog. A frog is an amphibian, which means they need some water and they need some land. Don't forget the lily pads, because they need the lily pads too. What classification would that be? Then have them build a simple habitat, like in a shoebox. It's like a diorama or a container. And then let them have a show and tell and let them describe it without telling what their animal is, and see if the kids in the Google Meet can figure out what the animals are. So I've given you a lot of information in a short amount of time. We'll post this on the different website, but I wanted to share with you, like Eva mentioned out, that these ideas and other ideas are available on the STEM Blender page in Blender, and that's accessed through the portal. And I think we're going to switch over now and ask if there are any questions.
Hi, I'll pop in with you guys as well. It didn't look like there are any questions that we've seen so far out there, but great job on sharing a lot of ideas. I think there are some great tools that what you shared that is great for now out in the schools with remote learning and getting students away from the screens a little bit and get them a little more active. Nadia was actually asking if we could try to come up with some more secondary implementation ideas. Do we have any of those available that you know of right now?
Yeah, we definitely do. When you go to that STEM Blender site, it's split by grade level. So you're going to see there's an elementary, a whole section of elementary, and a whole section for secondary. And a lot of the topics, we were very purposeful. So while it's labeled 6 through 8, you're going to see that a lot of those same topics are topics that overlap into 9 through 12 content areas as well that can be multi-purposed and used. There's a ton of stuff in there that's really accessible K-12.
Awesome. So yeah, so I think it's important. I'll put that up again, but definitely go ahead and check out. It's in your Blender. Just go to your portal, click on the Blender tile, and look for the STEM Blender page. And you know, we couldn't share all of the ideas in this live stream, so the What's Up doc was one of those, but they do have ones for secondary as well that are available there. So with that, I guess we will continue and finish up and wrap everything up. As a reminder, we definitely want to say to you guys that if you need any sort of assistance with technology integration, if you have Google questions, Flipgrid questions, even STEM questions, we will get those questions answered. So please feel free to fill out that help form. That help form is also case sensitive. It's important to remember that the capital letters in the back half of that URL. But otherwise, we have a group of people that are monitoring that all day, so we'll get notified as soon as someone reaches out there. There was another follow-up to that secondary. Are there virtual lesson ideas for STEM, or is that something they're probably going to have to take the lessons that are in Blender and kind of adapt a little bit?
There aren't any that are already created that are like turn on a dime, because a lot of STEM is really about making meaningful connections to your students. A lot of it's very student driven. So really getting a pulse check on your students on what their interests are. When you're talking about passion projects or when you're talking about student interests and how they want to express themselves, a lot of that's very different. But there are a ton of resources that are just very easily adaptable in this digital environment that don't take too much work on a teacher side to be able to turn and do, but there are a lot of resources that could be easily incorporated into any lesson. So for example, we were talking about the virtual field trips. Google Expeditions has a ton of stuff out there on a variety of different topics, whether you're talking about adaptations, whether you're talking about different areas and ecosystems that can really just be incorporated very, very quickly. So definitely check out the STEM Blender page. There's a ton in there.
Yeah, and I just want to obviously say thank you, ladies, for joining us, and John for joining them as well. But please don't hesitate, if you're in Palm Beach, to reach out to Eva and Julia. If you do have questions on STEM integration, that's their job. They love working with teachers and just really explaining how you can get the best out of every piece of STEM out there. So don't hesitate to follow them on Twitter and reach out to them. And John has made the connections with them too from EdTech. So we appreciate all three of you. And so with that, I'll let you guys share any last words before we go.
I would just say, like, try something new, start simple, make it easy. Don't put a lot of stress on yourself. Give the kids something new to do so that it's not the same old and stuff like that. And reach out to us. We're here for you, and have a great weekend.